60 Minutes Overtime.
We live on an island. We have limited freshwater resources. We need to take care of those resources. If they're contaminated by a facility like Red Hill, we all suffer the consequence of that.
This week on 60 Minutes, we report on an environmental and public health crisis at Hawaii's Pearl Harbor. For decades there, an underground facility called Red Hill stored millions of gallons of fuel for the U.S. military. In November 2021, a pipe cracked, leaking thousands of gallons of jet fuel into the drinking water on the base at Pearl Harbor. The tanks at Red Hill have the capacity to store 250 million gallons of jet fuel and marine diesel. Now empty, those tanks were built into porous volcanic rock, and no one knows if the jet fuel may still be trapped within that rock. That's a potential problem, not just for Pearl Harbor, but also for neighboring Honolulu, whose primary water supply is 100 feet below the Navy complex.
I was in front of a hearing of multiple committees of our state legislature, and I believe I used the phrase, this facility was a disaster waiting to happen.
Ernie Lau is the engineer in charge of Honolulu's water system. He worries that dozens of past leaks at Red Hill, including a 27,000-gallon leak in 2014, could contaminate the water supply of the Honolulu metropolitan area in years to come, putting 1 million people at risk. What was it about the facility that concerned you?
Just the sheer volume of fuel right over a drinking water aquifer. The bottoms of these tanks, only 100 feet above the water table of that aquifer, or the top of the aquifer.
And how might the geology play a role in how the fuel kind of spilled and moved around?
Just imagine this mountain having these lava tubes, these fractures, this areas between lava flows that allow fuel or water to move in different directions. Very complicated. The Navy wants everybody to think that fuel leaking out of the Red Hill fuel storage facility would flow from the mountains toward the ocean or toward Pearl Harbor and not flow across the valley toward our wells with the underground aquifer. But we don't believe that that is true, and there's no actual evidence yet that doesn't rule out that flow across the valley toward our wells on the other side of the valley.
What do we know about the potential impact or effects of ingesting jet fuel?
You know, that's something that it's not regulated by the US EPA. There's no drinking water standard for fuel. And fuel is a mixture of different chemicals. The other thing that is in this fuel, or was in this fuel at the time of the leaks, were probably additives that the military adds to the fuel to keep the fuel from freezing when it gets cold. So it stays in a liquid form. It can be used in their jet fighters or jet aircraft.
Right now, there's no evidence leaked jet fuel has gotten into Honolulu's water supply, but as a precaution, the city shuttered the well closest to Red Hill. Now, Honolulu is asking for $1.2 billion from the federal government to replace it. On the islands of Hawaii, fresh water is considered precious. In native Hawaiian, it's called vai, and the word for wealth is vai, or water. Now, after everything that's happened at Red Hill, Ernie Lau wants the U.S. Navy to protect his city's most important natural resource.
Earning trust is more than words. It's more than rhetoric. You prove and you earn trust by your actions. So for the Navy to build trust, they have to demonstrate it by action. They need to locate where fuel is at, not just monitor and test for contamination, but also actively try to clean it up, to try to remove some of it from the environment or all of it.
Why?
Because if not, this is the legacy we leave beyond my lifetime for generations to come. Because this fuel is not going to disappear magically. This is deep underground, and it's in the cracks and crevices of this porous lava rock. But it's going to reside there for a long, long time.